Shooting of the National Guard, I actually laughed out loud that they could try to spin this, that what it starts with is a premise that everything Trump is looking to do is motivated by evil. This is just an assumption that they build into whatever he says or does, that his objective is to just basically harm.
I think that Joe falls into a very like.
Have you ever wondered how people get those high-paying cybersecurity jobs? You might think that they had to get a specialized advanced degree, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret.
Obvious trap here. By engaging with Steven and Soypill on their construal of the conversation and being like, Trump's not about evil, he's about good, and it's like, your opinion, man. Now he's gonna like open the can of worms and like the entire arsenal of all the evidence of this administration and the previous one for them to utilize against him. And so if I'm just taking a strategic view here, I don't think Joe should bite that bullet. He should be like, are you conceding the proposition that he has no culpability? Like, this just seems like but maybe he wants to go there, but it just seems like he's totally fallen for a trap, which is to talk about something that potentially related to the proposition, but isn't actually. In terms of optics, I think he comes out looking like a Trump dick suck.
Harm as many people as possible, and then they take a situation that they'll create a situation as volatile as possible and ratchet it up, going back to Biden bringing in ridiculous numbers of millions.
And now it just sounds like a fucking bringing in. I love this. And what is it going to be? 70 million?
Illegal aliens, letting them stream across our borders.
So rather than go to the stronger point, which is like, you guys, you really in your life think that he's culpable for this specific death? Why weren't you on this panel? I was not invited. I would definitely talk to Joe and this guy. I tried to talk to the law of self-defense guy, but he just seems like a bit of a pussy. Don't let him see this, because then he'll probably never talk to me.
Then trying to defend the criminal aliens. He's not even trying to get rid of the run-of-the-mill.
Now he's talking about immigration enforcement. Instead of taking the stronger position, which is like, you guys have not demonstrated individual agency in this shooting. Like, if it wouldn't have been these people, it would have been someone else. Those kinds of arguments. He's now in the weeds on immigration and what his motive is, and like asking the audience to question whether Trump's motives on immigration are correct or not. It's so like strategically stupid. Thank you so much.
He's trying to get rid of criminals and screaming and standing in the ice and trying to stand in front of federal officers doing performing their duty. And
he's also not being especially eloquent.
Then they turn around and say, well, this is all Trump's fault, while the left is continually ratcheting up the violence, ratcheting up just how they want their side as angry as possible. We'll hear them say, go out there.
Now he's biting the bullet even further and making this like an all against all fight, which suits Soypill. And oh, thank you so much. Well, shout out to Pisco for very possibly landing that high profile World of Debate championship debate thingy. Be sure to like and retweet so our boy gets. Thank you so much, Josiah. I really appreciate it. Shout out Josiah, Pondering Politics. Really, really miss you on Live and Learn. Maybe we can invite you one of these days. But yeah, it's Word War Debate, not World War Debate. But yeah, appreciate that. I also think it's not wise for Joe to just make this a battle of all against all, for the reasons I stated. But additionally, adding on top of it, the specific questioning of Trump's motive, I just think that is not very smart. I think you should stick to the facts here, because now he's kind of going into like, well, the left are violent, and he's kind of insinuating perhaps this person was inspired by left shit, and that will open himself up to an internal critique on the evidence for that, which I don't think is very significant as of now.
March, go out there, march. You'll never hear the left say, make sure you do it peacefully. You'll never hear that at all. And then when there's this terrible incident, which I assume that the people who are arguing against me would admit at least that this is a tragedy, that Sarah Beckstrom was shot. Another person I think is still in critical condition when I last.
And this is like just meaningless pandering to the crowd. Like, what, you guys think shooting people is bad? Now, in Stephen's case, I he said some fucking unhinged thing I don't agree with. On the Kirk stuff, he always manages to find a way to like say, I would admit it, but just not in front of you guys type thing. But I think in general, it's a bad position. I don't say that you need to like cover up for Charlie's who he was in that sense, or to like pretend that the left are responsible or anything, or apologize. Certainly not. But this kind of pandering, I don't think is ever useful. I just tune it out whenever I hear it.
Heard. So that I think they would admit that this is a tragedy. Then they turn around and they say it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault because he's trying to enforce the law, which is just preposterous. But I look forward to getting into
and he's just trying to enforce the law. Even the way he structures that, he's just trying to enforce the law, now calls into question Trump's motive and what he's doing. So a horrible intro, I think, just even from the perspective of conservatives, you can't be very happy with how that started out. You're opening yourself up to all sorts of like pushback, really only going to be convincing to people who are already on your side. And I think just a very narrow proposition has just been expanded mostly by you. I mean, I would say Joe's response here expands the nature of the conversation even further than Soy and Destiny's, which was, I think, a liberal interpretation of the prompt at best.
legal arguments so we can break this down for all of you.
Okay, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Next up, Andrew Branca. Is that how you say your last name? I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. It doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
It doesn't matter because you're going to be gone because we know you're a runner.
Of course, I'm an attorney. I'm probably best known for the law of self-defense. I'm an expert, probably the preeminent expert in the nation on use of force law. And I do a lot of...
Are you fucking serious, this guy?
Legal and political commentary. I think there's no rational view in which Trump has any legal responsibility for what happened here. We have an Afghan assassin who walked up to a woman with a revolver in his
hand. I think everyone would concede that.
And shot her through the chest. There's only
but I actually do think that's a more effective start than Joe's, in that he's trying to call attention to the prompt.
Only one person who caused that death. That's the Afghan rebel.
I think that's very great vulnerability for them to be like, oh, only one person caused that death, so you're now going to disclaim any responsibility that all of the right was saying that it was the responsibility of Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin, right, and the Democrats. It's only one person responsible, right? So, I mean, I think that's like true in the culpability sense, but it's just not one that the right, and maybe that gets to the point that the left is trying to make.
Can engage in all kinds of estrogenic butterfly effects, and Trump is the bad daddy, so everything that happens that's bad is Trump's fault.
That's basically, but Soy Pill was self-conscious about that standard being your standard, right? That critique was one using your standard. And so I very much like resent that. What you should say is we never applied that to Joe. We were blaming Biden for things that he was like causally having a role in, or his omissions. We weren't just willy-nilly basing it off, but the problem is they were. That's the problem, is Soy Pill is correct here. But fighting him and a person who's cognizant that that's a ridiculous and absurd standard, not very effective. The person knows that it's absurd. It's just, you're opening yourself up to, well, you blame Biden for XYZ and, for example, inflation or something, and that wasn't his fault.
But Trump has executive authority under Article 2.
Sorry, I'm a pauser, so if that bothers you guys, I'm very sorry.
He's the democratically elected president. He's allowed to do things, including trying to ensure the safety of the American populace.
So now you're bringing the legality of his actions into question directly, and it's not a very convincing response, except to the extent that we're like, legally culpable for whatever's going on. That's not what the question calls for. The question calls, is he responsible? And someone with legal authority to do something can nonetheless be responsible. You could have legal authority to order troops to storm something, and then all of it turns out it was a trap, and they all get fucking slaughtered. Some people might still say that you're responsible. So I just don't think that. I think focusing on the issue of culpability cannot just be interpreted in a strictly legal sense. Though I think it's good to focus on the prompt issue, because I think opens yourself up even wider. Having too narrow of a focus to like the legal culpability that none of these people would assert, I think is far too narrow and like obnoxious of you to take of the question. But then getting an additional point about, well, Trump's authorized to do everything he's doing, is just calling into question all of these actions and just opening up tremendous amounts of lines of attack from these two gentlemen. I hope that they're able to take advantage.
In its city. And if bad things happen because he's doing things he's allowed to do, it's the bad people who made that happen.
Really? That is an unjustifiable standard. So there's no amount of provocation. There's no amount of irresponsibility. So you would say that about Biden? Well, he's allowed to do what he's going to do. And if bad people cross the border in spite of what he's doing or in spite of whatever, then he can't take any responsibility. That is a standard that you would never apply. That people who have authority don't ever have to live with the consequences or deal with the consequences or assume responsibility for what that is just crazy. Maybe it explains some of their mindset about why they just like throw Trump off the hook for so much bad shit, is they think in his mind that he has the legal authority to do everything. I mean, that's just an insane standard that no one should accept.
Okay, and with that, let's kind of get into
What
it.
a pathetic opening statement. I think that was horrible. I think Good Logic's, opening himself up to more vulnerabilities. But that was just like that cannot stand the. Maybe that's why he leaves. I don't know. That just seems like an absurd standard.
As we go, I guess I'd start by reading a tweet from Destiny here. And I'm curious if you stand by this position, sir, and then we could just kind of get into the open discussion. You said on 9/15 on November 26th, you wrote as follows. They weren't protecting D.C. They couldn't even make arrests. They were sent there to die by real Donald Trump and his cronies, so they could rile up the base to distract them from the monumental failing of every single part of this administration. Is that your current position, sir?
They sent them specifically so they be killed. I don't know if I'd go that far. I think that they're going there to stoke tensions and to assert executive authority. And if shit happens, they're going to take advantage of it. I think that's the idea. I don't know that they specifically are doing it for the conscious object that these people die. I think that is a consequence they're willing to live with to further their conscious object, which is the centralization of executive authority and the imposition on the American people and the use of the armed forces as an instrument of political will. I don't think I have the evidence to show that they specifically want the people to go there to die, but maybe he'll clean that up a little bit.
Yes, I think that Trump is trying intentionally to inflame tensions as much as possible.
Okay, well,
so that he can expand his executive power as much as possible.
But that's not what you said. What you said was to go die, specifically to go die. And I think the better thing is like he'll take advantage of it, and he doesn't care if they do or if something happens. Different than it's what they want to happen.
One thing that you're going to hear over and over again in this debate, it's already happened in the opening statements, is remember, every single time a conservative criticizes a Democrat, it's about what they should do, what their moral obligation is, and what a good leader would do to guide the country. But whenever they talk about Trump or the conservatives, it's always what is the outer perimeter of legal actions that he is theoretically allowed to take. This
is what Kafka was saying.
No question of whether or not his leadership is moral or what his end game is on anything, although he would fail in the legal realm as he has been over and over again, and he would fail on these other two as well.
That's in response to whether he has the authority to do certain things, not whether or not he would fail as for the murder of this woman.
But like the question is why? So for instance, earlier you talked about leftists celebrating violence. Why is Donald Trump incapable of saying that the entire country needs to be less violent? Why is he incapable of saying anything that equally criticizes his side?
So I'm like, on the one hand, like I totally agree with this sentiment. It just doesn't seem at all that anyone wants to touch the prompt of the debate, which only in my mind matters, right? Because all you guys are like, who cares about the prompt or whatever? Let's just talk. It's the same conversation with interesting people that you've kind of brought on. When I say interesting, I just mean like people who have some reputation in conservative circles on like a proposition that you really don't have an interest in defending. It's the same argument, and now with the added, I think, bonus as far as the left is concerned of seeing these right-wing lawyers probably embarrass themselves on bullshit and defend the indefensible. But it just does seem like the prompt is like a mere guideline, and maybe that's what it's intended for. But it would piss me off.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can. First up, let's talk about AI color themes. You can get any combos you want, bold and bright, minimalist and sleek, or something you didn't even think of. Just describe the vibe you want, or even use the colors of your logo, and let AI do its thing. Beautiful. Next up is the AI section creator. This is great for those website essentials, like a contact section or a place to subscribe. Now, I'm running a sale, so I punch in some details, and just like that, I have a promo section. Functional and beautiful. I love it. Now, for the AI text creator. I got some products that need description, so I type in some keywords, and there it is. I've got copy that lands. Now, let's see what the AI image creator can do. Sometimes you just want to spice up your visual game. Type your idea and watch it turn into a high-quality image in seconds. You can have some real fun with this. If you need to tweak something, just brush it over, write what you want, and there it is. I may not be an artist, but that's art. If you're ready to build something you love, head to Wix.
How can my brand appear in AI search? How can I boost digital brand visibility? Introducing SEMrush One, uniting traditional SEO and AI search tools, all in one place. Measure and grow everywhere you're discovered. One solution to win every search.
And this
See,
is open
this is-
discussion. So
Right, and this is what the left this is what you on the
And Joe bites the bullet, and it's a trap set, and Joe will immediately bite that because he'll want to defend against that point.
left tend to do. It's you're continually ratcheting up the violence, and then you're looking for an all sides type of thing. And to harken back, and I don't want to get into the whole Black Lives Matter thing, but when we look
Oh no, yes. So he's chomping at the bit to actually take this on, and on that, I don't think they're gonna lose. I don't think they have a leg to stand on there on the BLM. And I saw some in the intro. So this is stupid.
back at 2020 when we saw
'Cause
the
these guys don't condemn Jan 6. These guys think it was like a fucking picnic. These guys don't condemn any violence on their own side, and that just goes to their point. So are they going to beat them around with that?
whole Black Lives Matter issue rise up, it was considered an affront for people, offensive for people to say all lives matter. Now I think that if you
Oh, you know why that the connotation there is why. It's not because the sentiment itself literally is wrong. And we love to do this fucking. It is so annoying when people just obviously miss the point. That when we're speaking literally, no one takes the issue with the all lives matter characterization. Literally, it's a beautiful sentiment. All men are created equal, all lives matter, all that shit. You're equivocating. You're addressing the sentiment in its literal terms versus the movement that emerged out of a response to the Black Lives Matter movement. And it's not impressive. This is like 2017 talking point. This is so old.
actually step back from a practical perspective, you would agree that all lives matter. But given the context, the idea of saying all lives matter in that
Okay.
context was deemed offensive because there was some perceived unique.
You would understand that, right? I mean, you guys understand contextually things being different, and it's not an offensive notion. Right now, you're saying to show how like far we've fallen. They're saying that like military members have a right to disobey illegal orders. The context of the current environment makes it so that is sedition. They're calling these people the seditious six, like sedition. And so
Sedition.
surely you must have some
Sedition.
sympathy. They don't. They're hacks for, contextual meanings of phrases and terms as they emerge. It would be like saying, well, the Nazis say National Socialists, so they're communists. It's like the same level of, I think, engagement with that. But sorry for pausing.
terrible position for the Black community, and it was as if you were disparaging their genuine plight by just trying to make it a general concern. So when you come
That wasn't what was being attempted. What was being attempted in that movement was not just making it, quote, a general concern.
here, Destiny, and you say, why can't he just say that all sides need to dial it back when there's been just bludgeoning from one side?
And what is what are we talking about here? I don't even know if I understand the comparison being made. Is the comparison, how could you say Trump needs to dial the rhetoric down for all of us in terms of violence when it was a social taboo to say all lives matter. It sure didn't stop a lot of you motherfuckers, just to be honest. And, you know, woke is dead or whatever. So, but like, what is the comparison? That how can you say Trump needs to say all sides need to reduce violence when we said all lives matter, we had some social shame? It's so stupid. What a dumb comparison.
Against the other, it just sort of rings as if you're trying to just whitewash. They're like, oh yeah, both sides are bad, when that's just not reality. It's not reality that we're actually experiencing.
Two really quick and easy questions. Did Joe Biden condemn the BLM violence?
And this is, I think, clever from Stephen. He's not responding to Joe's point directly. Joe's point about language is basically like, it's a weak point anyways. I don't know if it's a stupid line to go down. It's something approaching, why should we believe you're coming in good faith about all lives, you know, all sides violence, and you're doing a whataboutism thing when, you know, all lives matter and versus BLM. It's kind of questioning the sincerity. Oh, then I guess it is responsive, because what he's saying is in the context of the implicit assumption where there is a parity or something, or, you know, to the extent that there's not a parity, it's in the Republicans' favor. Now let's go through specific points. So maybe he is gathering like the thrust of what Joe is saying here is like, you're trying to say that we're all the same, and we're trying to say that like the Democrats have a moral high ground, but they don't. And he is kind of responsive to that. So I guess it is responsive. It's responsive to the thrust of what Joe is saying is, you guys don't have the moral high ground, which I think is another weak position for. This is informed by my personal bias about where I side. And so I guess Stephen is responding to the thrust of that.
I wasn't looking to get into
the answer. If you don't know, that's fine. The answer is yes.
I don't know.
That's fine. No, wait.
Wait, you don't know that they condemn the violence? I don't believe. I mean, like, come on. How many of these conversations of BLM versus Jan 6 versus the violence of the right and left, you don't know that the Democrats condemned the violence? It must have been produced to you at some point, or you're in such a echo chamber. This is insane.
Well, I know you don't care because you don't care to make it factual. So the answer is yes, number one. And number two,
hold on.
I think it is relevant. As I think about it, I think it is relevant. You brought up basically that there's a lack of parity, to the extent there is, in the Republicans' favor, because you did this whole all lives matter, and then you accused him of saying that you're pretending as though there's a parity. So you're calling into question whether or not there is, in terms of rhetoric or something. And I don't think it quite tracks with the BLM terminology. I'm not following his brain completely. I'm grasping some of the straws there, but I do think it's responsive to the thrust, which is you're suggesting that the Democrats have a bigger skeleton in their closet. And he's responding to that. I think it's relevant.
1 second.
Not to the prompt, surely not to the prompt, but to this little isolated back and forth.
We can't. No one can hear each other. Hold on, just real quick.
Something
Hey, just housekeeping here.
You brought up BLM.
Yeah, you brought up
BLM.
My energy bill dropped from $150 to $50 by doing this. My friends laughed at me when I spent $49 on a power saver device that could cut my energy bill in half. They thought I got scammed. But when I showed them my super low energy bill, they were blown away. Check that out. This is our current energy bill. This is our last energy bill. And as you can see, over a 56% difference. Hi guys, I just want to share a quick and simple technique that anyone can use to lower their energy consumption without changing their lifestyle. With this method, you can keep cooking, baking, gaming, running your dryer, wash at 90 degrees, and keep your heater running like you used to before. This method can essentially cut your energy bill in half by optimizing your home's energy grid. It lowers your energy bill by anywhere from 20% to 50% by bypassing the spikes in your home's current, which can lead to significant savings on your energy bills. It was discovered by Carl, an electrical engineer, during last winter, when, like many of you, he was hit with ridiculously high electricity bills. His energy provider was charging him over $165 a month. It was insane, so he decided to do something about it. As an engineer, Carl knew the power grid we're all connected to isn't perfect. Millions of tiny energy spikes are constantly flowing into your home's grid. These spikes send excess energy into your devices, causing them to use more energy than they actually need. This is bad news for your.
Yeah, I mean, you did bring up BLM. Now, he brought it up in the context, I think, of making a.
Get to watch this guy. Empower your students to be more authentic, impactful writers with Grammarly's comprehensive AI writing assistance. Use it to help students brainstorm better ideas before they write. Document their writing process. Check for plagiarism and AI-generated text. Cite sources correctly. Get real-time feedback. And much more. Hear it from the former CIO of Wharton Business School. It's not just a grammar tool. It's your responsible AI writing assistant for the new era of communication. Download Grammarly for free today.
cracked windshield? Get it fixed now and pay later at safelight.com.